Blessed day, Earth family, soul family. Another day, another Monday, another sunrise, another opportunity to do things better. What do you think? It's Mental Health Monday. We're going to be talking about no mind, mind of no mind. And is that similar to breath of no breath? Also, what is health? How is it measured? And we'll talk about nature Gong Fu. So let's do it. Dive right in to the daily series of the Martial Mystic. This is the calendar series 2026, Mind of No Mind. Last week, we talked about the definition of mind. What is your definition of mind? What would you say mind is? Where would you say mind is? We looked at Dan Siegel's work, um, professor of interpersonal neurobiology, and go back and take a look at that. His definition of the mind, very interesting. The embodied and relational and emergent process um, that is within the self. And that's just a part of it. But for our for our purposes, we're looking at embodied and relational and the impacts of what that might mean if that's true. So the college, the Vagalos College of Physicians, they test and perform tests, or they say that testing for mental health is based on a combination of standard self self-reported questionnaires, clinician administration interviews, behavioral health observations, designed to quantify subjective experiences like mood, anxiety, and function. The tests and um, data processes to essentially interview a patient has changed over the past few centuries, and we would expect improvements. We would expect these sort of things. What else? The mental health status examination, the MSE, is a framework used by clinicians to observe and assess a patient's current state, including appearance, behavior, speech, mood, and cognitive function. So I say that just to give us an idea of how, one, people, patients report to the doctor about mental health, their mental health, and how doctors aim to get accurate information about one's mental health. And I want to also talk about Qigong and the Eastern mindset and framework. So, one of the things in Qigong, remember, Qigong is energy work. So, Qi and Gong. Gong has to do with energy, time to build proficiency. That's why we have the word Gong Fu and Kung Fu, using time and energy to build a proficiency and skill. And this is how we get self mastery. In Qigong, we're looking at quality of energy and quantity of energy. And how do we interact with variables that impact energy, and then how we build conditions to impact energy. Because we know that there's a lot of things that are beyond our control. There's many things that are beyond our control. When we go out into the world, we know that there's, like defensive driving, kind of have to have this idea of being aware of what's around and what's entering your space and your sphere. So we want to have a little bit of the mindset of understanding what we can and cannot control. So, in terms of quality and quantity, quantity is easy to imagine, right? If you have abundant energy, why is that? Why do you have the energy to do something or to perform or to show up? So you may do something like drink a cup of coffee. You may do something like go for a jog. You may do something like sleep well the night before to ensure that you have the quantity. And that also brings forth the quality of energy. When it comes to mental health, what is the quality of the state? And Qigong is like this as well. What is the quality of the energy that you have, or that you feel, or that you sense, or that you are embodying? And this comes back to the subjective experience that when clinicians interview patients, they're trying to get an aspect or a sense of how you feel inside, right? So there's this aspect of being and of state of mind and of self that is subjective, meaning you can't really put your finger on it, can't really see it, but you sense it and you feel it. Obviously, if you're looking at someone who's having a mental health crisis, they're gonna they're gonna have certain kinds of symptoms and not necessarily subjective, but objective qualities that you can tell, right? So this also goes back to the concept of nature gong fu, the kung fu of internal vision, where in Buddhism we talk about right view, right thought, and that impacts right speech and right action. But the ability to see oneself with the right view, see oneself clearly, is a skill. So as you don't obscure reality, obfuscate responsibility, or essentially lie to oneself. Eventually, those sort of things catch up. And this is why the contemplative practices are important because they bring you to yourself, bring you to sitting still or standing still to yourself. That's the impact of motivation, being with yourself, essentially, because the mind and body are trying to operate optimally, and the body's naturally trying to get rid of waste and repair cells. The mind is um, also trying to solve problems and look out for threats. Hence the or the sympathetic response, fight, flight, or freeze. You see a stressor or feel a stressor or sense a stressor, you might start to, you know, look around and become uh, aware of your surroundings, right? So nature gong fu is important. Remember, I said that the way that clinicians and doctors get mental health, an idea of one's mental health, is an interview process. Why can't we do an interview process for ourselves? Why can't we look at our mood, our behavior, our thinking, and our appearance? Why can't we interview ourselves and be critical and honest, right? This is an aspect of the skill of nature gong fu, the gong fu of internal vision. This is something that we want to, as Qigong practitioners, Tai Chi practitioners, contemplatives. This is something that we want to build. So meditation and moving meditation is important. So let's look at the movement, the Tai Chi movement for today, February 23rd. Repulse the monkey, which is a nice stretch and also an effective wrist grab. In this series, what I do is I break down complex movements into easier movements to do, easy movements to do. So, for example, you're seeing the upper body movement of uh, posture called repulse the monkey, repulse monkey. So it has that convey that the pushing away of the hand conveys that repulsion aspect. There's lower body leg movement associated with this movement as well. But just for the sake of this video and ease, I isolate the upper body. You can see it's looped and it's repeated one after the other. You can see there's a left and right hand movement. Some of the things you can't necessarily see are internal movements and rotations and opening and closing. For example, the movement is mostly seen in the arms and the hands. As a Tai Chi practitioner and Qigong practitioner, it's important for us to use the torso, use the back muscles and shoulder muscles to perform the movement. The back and shoulder muscles we know are bigger than the arms and wrists and hand muscles. And they are more connected to the center of the body. Movement that comes from a sustainable root and center is movement that you can sustain over time. So, moving meditation gives you an opportunity to bring your mind and attention into the body, into what the body's doing, into how the body's moving. And Tai Chi is one of many exercises, embodiment practices that helps bring an internal observation aspect to oneself. And I love to break down movements and look at movements for people. And actually, I love to um, provide craft movement for people who may be experiencing injury or stress or burnout in the body. In my website, Yin Yang Tai Chi, you can go to yinyangtaichi.org, book, and look at my calendar. Let me know if you would like more information on mental health processes, movement meditation for mental health. You can get a free 30-minute consultation. Or if you want to learn more about Tai Chi Chuan. So let's go to mind of no mind and possibly how it may be connected to breath of no breath. Do we want to be mindful? Because from the Eastern traditions, we've gotten this aspect and this phrase of no mind, mind of no mind. And that's connected to Wu Wei, doing without doing, which we talk about when you can regulate without regulating, habituate to where it's no longer a conscious thought. You've now achieved doing without doing, regulating without regulating. And this is what we want in terms of habits. If you're constantly pursuing a New Year's resolution of less sugar, exercise, no drinking, meditation or something like that. You are interested in doing of no doing, regulating without regulating. And then you find that it's challenging, it's difficult. You have to bring yourself and regulate yourself to do the practice and exercise until it becomes a habit. That's why the Taoists have a 100-day philosophy, theory, and practice. If you do something for 100 days, you're going to be more likely to ingrain it into your body and your mind, have it become second nature, which is why I do 100 days meditation series in my YouTube channel. If you want to find more about that, again, go to yinyangtaichi.org and we can talk about that. But no mind in Mandarin, wuxin, in Japanese, mushin. Sanskrit has its own word. It's a mental state that is aspect, characteristic um, of the experience of an instantaneous severing of thought that occurs in the course of a thorough going pursuit of a meditative exercise. That's how the Buddhist text would describe no mind. It's instantaneous and it occurs throughout the course of a pursuit of meditative exercise. And it's not total absence of thinking, but rather an absence of clinging. So you can have a moment of no mind and a moment of no thought, but not still experience it, subjective experience of obtaining this aspect of no mind, this maybe mystical sense of no mind, right? So in the Chinese character, in the Chinese um, character of this, it 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 conveys without without the heart mind, and so that can be without emotion. In Buddhist, we talk about no attachment. So if you release emotion over something or from something, if you release your emotion from something, in a way you give yourself liberation from that thing. You're separating your emotion, your reaction, as maybe a first step to separating your mind from something that has hooked your mind. So that's a little bit of the aspect of no mind. Not that you want to stop or cancel thought or thinking, but this is what we talk about in terms of health and Qigong, building the conditions so that your mind settles, quiets, and finds stillness. And is this connected to any mystical idea or identity, right? Because where is mind essentially? How do I know when I have harmony of mind and body? Or I achieve that? How do I know how to get to it? So we have to remember that we have come from a source. This source, Wu Ji, doesn't necessarily have an aspect of mind. So we are here in this physical realm, under heaven, above earth, as humankind, all coming from this Wu Ji space of source, infinite potential, um, divinity, the plane of possibility. So we don't necessarily attribute a mind and imagine your mind being part of that mind as a mind exercise, right? So this is also a concept of wanting to bring Wu Ji, wanting to bring aspect of and qualities of Wu Ji into this physical domain and understand that there's a material dimension and an immaterial dimension that is inherent in our quality of living and being. In our physical and non-physical being, there's also the aspect of source, quality of source that encompasses all. And so to have the idea of health, wholesomeness, whole state of mind, and whole state of being, these are the aspects of self that we want to bring together, hold together, feel, sense, and cultivate. And my theory is that that impacts mental health and mind health, or body health, rather. Tell me, what you think, how you regulate a process that brings you a holistic sense of being, moving, and acting in the world, right? Let's do this simple exercise. You take a deep breath and you inhale and you exhale, watching it, releasing it, seeing it trail off, not engaging the inhalation response, and seeing it how long you can hold it comfortably until you now allow for the inhalation to come. In Qigong, we use the exhale to release energy and build and create conditions for relaxation. My question to you is, between the space of exhaling, watching, and monitoring, and then that inhalation response, there's a moment of transition where I would say there's a moment of no breath. So in the aspects of inhalation and exhalation as being balanced, inhalation and exhalation are also yin and yang. Do they hold an aspect of no breath, a quality of no breath? And I would say possibly in the transition, if you can build the conditions with enough relaxation to prolong the transition between inhalation and exhalation, which would be right here, you can build and feel a connection of no breath. Where no breath is, no mind is likely to follow. Where no breath is, no mind is likely to follow. In Qigong, we use breath as a strategy. We upregulate breathing, inflame the body to activate, or we downregulate breathing for relaxation, releasing, and nourishing and recharging. And then we use a combination of other breath techniques for different scenarios. But for the sake of this, in terms of mental health and mind of no mind, search for the breath of no breath, that transition space between exhalation and inhalation where you feel that there is no breath. If you can catch that and hook onto that, you can build conditions to sustain that. And you're not stopping your breath, you're not holding your breath in the same way that you don't stop your thoughts or cease your thoughts. So let me know what you think about that. Again, I'd love to talk to you more if you're interested in reaching out. You can reach me at yinyangtaichi.org and you can book a 30-minute free consultation and we can go into more of this. I have a calendar there and you can see where I'm open. Um, So I hope that speaks to you and let me know what you think, what you use, what your tools are, how you have may experience no mind, how you build the conditions for no mind, how breath is connected and associated with that. And until next time, embrace the woo and may your chi flow smoothly.